Okay, so I don't usually make videos like this, but I've seen a lot of people talking about the ending of Union Cross. So if you haven't seen the ending, don't watch this video, obviously. So I've seen a lot of people talking about it, specifically like the big twists regarding the Dream Eaters and Brain. And I just wanted to talk about those two things because I feel like a lot of people are reading too deeply into things or just kind of letting their imagination run away from them. So I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents about the whole thing and how I personally interpreted these plot twists. So first off, with the Dream Eaters, I've seen a lot of people coming to the conclusion that the implication of that scene is that they're the same Dream Eaters that Sora and Riku have as partners in Dream Drop Distance. And like, I can kind of see why people would come to that conclusion, but at the same time, Sora and Riku, you have recipes and you craft your own Dream Eaters in the game. You make your own Meow Wow. It's not the Meow Wow made from Dandelion number 73 a million years ago. You make your own Dream Eaters. How could they be the same ones from back then? You know, I'm sure there's a wide pool of just free roaming Dream Eaters out in the sleeping worlds, like how there's a myriad of, Heartless and Nobodies out there. And so sure, maybe in the large pool of just wild random Dream Eaters, the Dandelions are out there. But as far as the ones in Dream Drop Distance are concerned, they're your own personal ones that you make from recipes and synthesis items. And on top of that, the Dandelion kids themselves aren't the Dream Eaters. It's their Chirithy, right? The kid dies or opts to fall asleep, and then the Dream Eater, their Chirithy, who is a Dream Eater, yeah, just transforms into a new shape to house their heart. And it's the Chirithy itself that turns into the Dream Eater, and the kid's just inside. It's like how Heartlesses are just a ball of darkness with a heart inside of them, and then when you defeat it, the heart gets released, Like, that Heartless isn't really that person. Not really. Unless it has a strong will of its own, like how Sora did in Kingdom Hearts 1, or Ansem's Heartless. Or Xehanort's Heartless. And I've seen people say that the reason Ventus was smiling at the end of Dream Drop Distance, when Sora's playing with his Dream Eaters, is because Ventus knows that those are the Dandelions, and he's happy that all of his old friends are back. But it's like Ventus, first of all, wasn't friends with any of the Dandelions, right? Ventus himself, during his introduction in Union Cross, says that he's been a loner forever. He doesn't have any friends besides Ephemer and the other Union leaders. And on top of that, ignoring the fact that, again, the Dream Eaters aren't the Dandelions themselves, they're the Chirithys. On top of that, Ventus was asleep throughout the entire ending and wouldn't have been aware that Keyblade wielders become Dream Eaters in this circumstance. So not only would he have not known that they were Dream Eaters, even if they were, he wouldn't have cared because he wasn't actually friends with them. Maybe he would have felt some sort of, camaraderie because he was a union leader and they were members of his union, perhaps. But again, the union leaders, just like the foretellers, they weren't really hands-on leaders, they didn't really ever interact with anyone in their guilds or whatever. But yeah, so that's the main thing with the Dream Eaters. I feel people are really jumping the gun with that. Maybe Nomura is going that direction and they do end up becoming the Dandelions at some point. But as of right now, I don't personally see how, because, yeah. And then the other thing in regards to Brain, this is the thing that I think people are not reading deeply enough into it, or rather they're missing the obvious. Maybe it's just me, but they have explained how waypoints work at least 5 or 6 times by multiple characters. Maleficent, Darkness, Master of Masters, maybe even Lucio. They've said this so many times. When a heart gets sent to its waypoint, it grows itself a new body. Maybe, Nomura will, go a different direction, but just using the logic that the game has repeatedly told you, Lucio possessed Brain's body and then sent his heart into the future, using the same method of time travel that the lifeboat does. Your heart will just grow a new body if there's a waypoint in the future. If there's an object to reconstitute you as a medium and someone with memories. And as soon as Brain arrives in Scala et Kylum, that dude Sigurd gives him back his hat. His hat was the waypoint. Brain and Luxu made some off-screen deal to send Brain into the future while Luxu possesses him, and then he makes sure his hat exists long enough to act as his waypoint. So Brain's heart flies to his hat in the future. Sigurd, I guess, has memories of him somehow, so like from records, I don't know. And then his heart just grows a new body, just like Maleficent grew a new body, just like how Lorium and Alrena and Ventus, I guess, how they all grew new bodies in the future as well. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and now there's going to be like a fifth method of time travel which contradicts the other four, because I don't know why there's so many different methods of time travel by this point. Every new game, there's a new method. But just using what the Master of Masters said about waypoints, what Darkness said, Maleficent mentioned how this stuff works so many times, you should just notice that Brain's hat was his waypoint, and he just used the same method. I don't know necessarily how Luxu sent his heart into the future, because there were no more pods left, but maybe just the act of separating his heart from his body. Maybe that's how Luxu possesses people. He doesn't possess them like Xehanort does. He just sends the heart somewhere else, and he just takes over their body. But yeah, that seems like the most obvious conclusion to jump to. It's not confusing yet, is what it is. Like, maybe they'll introduce more concepts later and make this process really roundabout and needlessly convoluted. But when it happened, when I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, those were the two main things. I guess I could talk about the Xehanort reincarnation thing as well, but like, I'm tired of Xehanort. KH3 should have just been the end of him. I don't know why they're still reimagining his backstory. I don't want to say retcon, because Kingdom Hearts fans hate that word, but like, Xehanort being a reincarnated gacha game character, that's kind of a fucking retcon, guys. Like, that has nothing to do with anything we've learned about him in any previous game. They're just changing stuff to change stuff. They're just adding in details that don't matter, because Xehanort has been in the series since Kingdom Hearts 1, technically, right? At any point in any of these games, was what we just learned this week relevant to anything? No. It's just a twist for the sake of a twist. I don't really care much about where the story's going to be going in the future. Kingdom Hearts 3 was kind of where I clocked out, but, you know, I've been playing Union Cross, well, not playing, but I've been following it since it came out. I used to play, but then it just became a terrible game. You know, I've been following Key since, when, 2013, so I just wanted to see how it finally ended after so many years, and it ended pretty much how I expected it to, just raising more plot points for future games to address and not really resolving a lot of what was introduced in this game. But that's kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to gacha games that go on for so many years. It's like, when the story began in 2013, you know, the ideas no more ahead, and the writers in general back then, they aren't going to be the same ideas as they are now in 2021, because things changed within a whole decade, you know? Back at the beginning of the game, it was all about, you know, dreams and stuff, which, you know, does kind of tie into the Dream Eater thing here, so I feel like that was something that Nomura has been leading towards since the beginning, but everything else, almost, the beginning of the game, like how Ephemer was in some unchained dream world, and how the Dandelions were supposed to travel to a dream world to escape the war, and the Nightmare Chirithy, even like Darklings kind of stopped being a thing. Like, all that stuff doesn't matter, because now it's all about, you know, data worlds and time travel, lifeboats, 13, you know, darknesses. Like, things change as the years go by, so I kind of figured that the ending of the game wasn't really going to have anything to do with other previous stuff, because it just kind of hops all over the place. But yeah, I don't really typically make videos discussing Kingdom Hearts lore, but just on these two topics of discussion, I wanted to just try to clear things up for people who are confused. But yeah, thanks for watching.